Demonic candy flipping. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by WeeWhop. When this happened, February 2018, the drugs used were acid, MDMA, spice, and tobacco. The dosages, 200 micrograms of LSD, 150 milligrams of MDMA, and between a 0.3 and 0.4 of K2, roughly. The route of administration, sublingually for the LSD, mixed MDMA into water, and smoked the K2. Gender, male. Weight, 260 pounds. Age, 17. Height, 6'1". Prior experience includes LSD 10 times, MDMA 6 times, and K2 once. The set, nervous, but mostly excited. And the setting, in a friend's basement out in the country. So here we are with another report from WeeWhop. If you don't know, we did a report of his a year ago where he tripped off diphenhydramine, and it was well received by most people. It was called Being Chased by the Man with Red Eyes, and I'll have a link in the description if you want to watch that. But of course I'm excited to be bringing this second report of his, this time stepping in a much different direction, but still filled with a lot of intensity. Candy flipping alone is a blast, while adding K2 to the mix, well, I'll just let you guys hear it for yourselves, because it doesn't necessarily turn out as a pretty experience. So I'm sure all of you will love this one. Without further ado, let's waste no time and jump right into this. I used to be a stupid kid who loved doing substances that got you messed the hell up. I would mix things I wasn't supposed to get a crazy high that would make me feel like I was going insane. When I got my hands on a packet of K2 from an Indian gas station, I was more than happy to try it. It just so happened I was getting some LSD and some MDMA from my plug that very night. So I showed my ID, got a pack of Diablo, and went on my merry way. This was the night that made me quit mixing substances altogether. I arrived at my friend's house where we sat down, dabbed each other up, and started talking about plans. I showed them all the stuff I got, and they were down until they saw the K2. They had heard the stories and weren't as eager to try it as I was. I was foolish to think it would go well. We sat on the couch and put the tabs of LSD under our tongues, signifying that it was time to start tripping. Start. The water had no flavor, which was a good sign. I held it under my tongue for 20 minutes and noticed my tongue felt kinda tingly. It was very faint, but still noticeable. We started talking to each other, preparing ourselves for the trip and making sure everyone was in a good mind space before going on a voyage to the great beyond. 20 minutes in, we all swallowed our tabs as the timer went off. Still no effects other than a small sense of happiness just from each other's company. I took the 150 milligrams of MDMA and dropped it into a glass of water. I mixed it around and set it down to drink when at peak. Best candy flipping experiences are drinking it at peak, so I just chilled with the LSD for a bit. 45 minutes in. The come up was getting pretty good. A light euphoria rushed over my body, and small tingles could be felt in my chest. My jaws started to want to chatter, and touching my clothes felt pretty good. No visual effects or auditory effects. One of us proposed we go outside and look at the stars, and we all agreed. We sat on our blanket down on the ground and looked up at the stars. They were more beautiful than usual, almost seemed a bit brighter and shinier. We stayed out there for a good 30 minutes, listening to music and chatting each other up. 1 hour, 10 minutes in. This is when my peak started. I could see colors in the sky, weird shapes forming on the ground, and beams of energy connecting from the stars. New constellations were forming before my eyes, and the moon was growing and shrinking. It was time for the MDMA. I slowly got up, walked inside, and grabbed my cup of MDMA water. I gulped it down as fast as I could, but the bitter, chemical taste almost made me gag. I chugged it down, and it felt like powder was sticking to the back of my throat, which made me slightly uncomfortable, but after a while, it went away. We went back outside and chilled for another 15 minutes or so. 1 hour, 55 minutes in. This is when the MDMA started to hit. We were sitting on the couch, watching a movie, High School Musical 2, if you're curious, and I suddenly started feeling a huge amount of vertigo. The room started spinning, and tingling could be felt all over my body, like electricity running through my veins. I started feeling a bit sick, and it was harder to breathe, but I honestly didn't care. It felt wonderful, but so intense at the same time. The visuals also seemed to get more intense. I stared at my friend, and her fingers started bending and twisting, like the void or a portal. I could see the LED lights dripping slightly, and then sucking back into each other. The four started twisting and turning, like a wave of squares. Faces began to morph and twist on the TV. It was unsettling, but beautiful, all at the same time. 2 hours, 30 minutes in. We paused the movie and decided to go outside again, but this time I brought the Diablo and a bong with me. We sat on the grass, and I packed a bowl filled with tobacco from some Newports I broke apart and some K2. The sky was beautiful, stars moving at the speed of sound, and the moon was changing colors. It was stunning, and I was about to ruin it. I filled the bong up and asked who wanted first hit. No one wanted it, so, of course, I took the first big rip from this bong. I lit the bowl, took a hit, and blew out the disgustingly burnt-tasting smoke. I almost gagged, but the first thing I noticed was I was getting high fast. I could feel myself getting dizzy, and my veins felt like they were crushing each other. I felt very sick, and it showed on my face. No one wanted to take a hit, except my other friend. I handed the bong over to him, and he took a fat rip as well. Same exact thing, a sour look, and a realization that this stuff was powerful. I took a few more rips and felt terrible, panicked even. My heart was pounding, my anxiety was up, it felt like the trip had just gotten 10 times more extreme. Shadows were moving in the trees. A train moved towards me, making me jump. Then there was a huge chicken man that was actually a table with an umbrella. I was very scared. I decided to go back inside, but could barely move. I felt like I just smoked dabs, then drank half a bottle of Everclear. Just shitty as hell. I tried speaking, but it was like I had cotton in my mouth, and words weren't escaping right. My friend only had one hit and was gone, but I was on some next level shit. I could hear voices, and it felt like there were spiders in my mouth. I was not happy. After about 15 minutes, I finally got up and stumbled to the house. My friends checked up on me, but I still couldn't talk. I just laid on the couch with the room spinning and nausea just filling my body. I eventually threw up in a trash can near the couch, but it didn't help at all. 3 hours in. The effects weren't nearly as strong at this point. I still felt a little stoned, but not nearly to the point as before. I was still tripping pretty hard though. The floor still had patterns, the room was shrinking and growing, kinda as if it was breathing, but I felt sick. I didn't throw up anymore, but I was sweaty as hell, had a sick stomach, and a pain in my chest. I was still a little paranoid too, but not nearly as bad. We finished up the movie and started up another one. I eventually mellowed out, but didn't feel nearly as much euphoria as before. 5 hours in. A lot of my visuals were gone for some reason. It usually ends visually around the 7-hour mark for me, but a lot of the visuals went away at the 5 mark. I went outside and lay down on the grass and felt oddly relaxed. I stared at the stars and started thinking about shit, about what I just did hours prior. I got kind of philosophical, thinking about if this is what I want in life, doing all these drugs and hurting my body and brain. I pondered on it for a bit, but it was not the last time I did hard drugs for sure, sadly. I stared at the stars a bit more and headed back inside. 7 hours, 30 minutes in. I didn't have a lot of the euphoria anymore, and it actually felt kinda sleepy. My friends were still rolling and tripping, and I was stuck feeling slightly sober. I still had kind of a mindfuck, but I was not feeling euphoria or seeing any visuals. I actually got kinda in my feels. Sadness. Thinking about dark stuff. It was not a good time for me. I eventually started listening to music, and it kinda helped, but I still felt very down. 8 hours, 30 minutes in. At this point, I was exhausted. I got comfy on the couch and tried to stay awake, but it wasn't working very well. My eyes were droopy, I was yawning, and I was comfortable as hell. I closed my eyes and fell asleep pretty quickly. I had pretty weird dreams that I can't remember, but I must say they were strange as hell. 13 hours in. My friend woke me up, and I felt terrible, depressed, tired, and just drained. I feel the MDMA has some to blame, but I feel the K2 was a big factor in making me feel so bad. I got home, made some food, and then ate in silence. I didn't watch any TV, videos, or nothing. Just kinda stared off. I felt terrible and hated every bit of it. I finally laid back down and fell asleep. The moral of the story is, mixing substances is bad, and doing any form of K2 is even worse. The candy flipping was fun, but I never, ever want to try K2 ever again.